farming community to increase their productivity. In the form of crop financing, the last year's crop financing price was a record in the history of this country. As such, we subsidized that to the tune of more than $700 million. We have increased our funding of the infrastructure from domestic resources, and this is on the backdrop of enhanced tax administration using digitalization. In the area of improved fiscal governance, with the support of IMF, we are looking at the vulnerabilities within the ecosystem. Bill, which has been cleared by Cabinet and will shortly be laid before the National Assembly in order to introduce a PPP law that will guide the concessions that we are increasingly going to be leveraging on to pursue our development agenda. To reduce the fiscal risk from the state-owned enterprises, which for the information of the audience, we can say that the total asset of the state-owned enterprise is about $35 billion. And so far, government has received limited dividends from this, but we have now come up with a reform agenda that is the setting up of the State-Owned Enterprise Commission, which is now a law, and the commission has since started work, and they have just delivered their assessment of the first performance evaluation of their KPIs of NAVEC, and this has been adopted by the President. We passed a law on the public procurement to ensure public transparency, in the procurement of public goods for the use of the state and related institutions. In terms of resource mobilization, we have just not looked at tax and non-tax revenue. We've also looked at the innovative financing models such as asset recycling, and our famous asset recycling of the Senegambia Bridge is a case in point, which we hope, based on the contract we've signed, we are expected to mobilize $100 million from an asset that was a grant for us. So we're going to get twice what was given to us in the first place. We've just completed the development of the National Development Plan, which is expected to roll out in the next 5 years, the development agenda of the government. These reforms and activities are not done in isolation and by the government alone. We are working with partners, and these partners have been very supportive. We'll begin by mentioning the bilateral partner, which is the United States of America, as a country-to-country partnership. We're very pleased and happy with the support the U.S. government has rendered to our development agenda, as they have given us 2 significant programs, that is the Millennium Challenge. The other partners, we are pleased to work with other bilateral partners in the NDB framework, such as Badia, which has facilitated a straight facility of $50 million to support the importation of essential commodities. Of course, we do have the elephant in the room, that is the World Bank Group, whose portfolios now stand at more than $750 million. And this is on the backdrop of the turnaround allocation and our enhanced improvement in our CPI score, etc. African Development Bank, the Islamic Development Bank, the EU are notable partners to mention. And we are also pleased to mention that IMF, which is helping us, has actually approved a new program, which is the second ECF, which we believe will be will double the size of the envelope to almost $100 million. And the program, the first review of the program was concluded just this week. And with this review of the program, the board is satisfied with the implementation of the economic reforms and agenda, and this is supported by a disbursement of $10.5 million. Despite all these rosy pictures, all is not perfect. We still have challenges. And these challenges are like any economic management. We still have debt vulnerability as a major challenge, with the debt level at 75%, which is elevated, and we are working forward towards reducing this within the medium term to less than 50%. As we speak right now, a large portion of our national budget is allocated to budget servicing of the debt portfolio. In the 2024 budget, a quarter of the budget was allocated to servicing our debt portfolio. We also have challenges in the macroeconomy which are driven by external factors such as the foreign exchange risks, and this is not unique to Gambia. In the sub-region, the dollar strengthens and continues to strengthen, and given that we import literally more than 90% of what we consume, this is feeding into our imported inflation. With this, we have the perpetual problem, which is we are dealing with right now, of rising cost of living. And it is the emphasis and the focus of this government to tackle this menace head on. Government is aware of the rising cost of living, and this is brought by the onslaught of the polycrisis we are living in. Commodity prices, geopolitical challenges, climate change, energy prices, etc. So what are we doing about these challenges? The challenges we are working on are to introduce proper government programs to support the vulnerable community. And I think that's where the Statistician General should roll out the completion of the social register so that the entire vulnerable segment of the country will be identified and government can do targeted intervention to support them. We'll also embark on fiscal consolidation through digitalization and public financial management to ensure a robust, transparent, and public financial management. We will deepen reforms for greater accountability and transparency in management of public finances. And of course, we are also anchoring and supporting the President's agenda, which is to focus on infrastructure development. The infrastructure deficit of this country is enormous, and we have all seen the large allocation we are giving to this sector. And this is a deliberate policy. We shall continue to do so. We will leverage on innovative financial strategies such as enhanced domestic resource mobilization, focus on non-tax revenue, and asset recycling or other securitization programs to ensure that government is able to mobilize the necessary resources to support our development agenda. In a nutshell, this is the highlight of the session. So I can come into the local languages. 5 minutes to summarize. Nkamen fo mbading lamelali wala nyindi ko bi nata wala kacal wala kacal muneti nim banku dimole kaca kay foye banko la na fulo ne ya karfa mon lan katama de nyame sartol men katama jikol men beje julol men be kerin kana fulo ta nyame ni ngana mo kanin dame ani president aram barola lulu suba won mineti ko Gambia dingol la balwo sonea balwo to sonea no la nun ferol malla wo ferol dum masakunda da mata kenola fon partners wolle bulo dum yo kono wolen bantala bankolti partner institutions mel bako World Bank nyol IMF nyol ko andu ni mage Gambia da mat ñin be mu dunia bele ka ke wo nyama bari si même fo no drong ni comme ça fait exemple kaytolem a economy be nyame amam perfect de but tumando bato jiki bala beje katu amam control damala haymaroti melbe banta ka pour kasabi nyame jiko be jele ko lanna min jiko membe tama kan na flola tama dinyala wo mjo kanne andum manke ko ngamira ko be menke kan banta jele be ferol be kafu kanne ka teko do balla hako do balla soto do balla balu be sonala nyame anin fana menka masakunda tamandi ya sona ani molla baluo masakunda ya kala sula kuma ndol non sula so foka jeko do bal anin fofre ni be nyim masakunda ani be banko kan ila baluo be sona la nyame isi jiki ila karango e sona la jata kenya senelal la karol andu senelal la karol do bambani la baki katu ngalon ko senolen banko ko suloti sawo sang masakunda ka kodo men samba senela la karola nyinang jambando damma do manga meke je pruka da kala atata kodo dalasi Gambia dalasi ni akonti 1 billion dollars anin fana serun tiada bun da diata nyame wala minji ko ntel nga damen fo anin akawafi damen ne fatatal nga damen fo wala siata dinan nintol ba wa fila masakunda ka fi nkan me soto laje so ngamakoro men ko karola wotambita million kene woro la nin tabu sai fana masakunda me batu ko ka ko me da mabe ko la masakunda wala nyen na tino so laje masakunda e million tan sabalandi le ko me le alon ko mol me ale blol me ko ben ka ko dol sambe ma wati ni wati karifula pour fana sa so be la balu tamandi la nyame ngalo ne ko le al me kere bari masakunda e ferol mel landi wala nyindi ko balu wala dasi sona nyame esanso kariwo kari nka domandi ba gondi je ni comme ça ko monte esanso sang dal sistance la isalon ko ni ba sanno marché ko abe kala dal sistance ni nani wala dal sistance adan sistance saba e tanse ni saba kariwo kari masakunda ka me ba paso ka pour ka sanso ba tala molia akatambi dal sisabala wala dal sinani litar wo litar ni na ta jamba ndola dala ngo fole ni na ka manol man sakunda buka hani na kile kan manoda mano mo duty free leti ya bonni na banta nyame kasa mana wala nyam ni aje fengol da ko leta fengol kasan bandala banko da ko dol ni wo ko do seleta ndol dala so man sele fo da salo na mo tan bari be ferol be lande kanne ka agriculture bambandi ka mulodum ka innovative areas will create be balwo sonen la nyamen nyimba ko andu min ko la man ke janda ma no kuntandila mbonna Nigeria ngamen je woto do way was o mi ka ko petrol station o motol le kalo janni ka essence so to ngawo je nyala le more than how many meters there is queue for petrol in Nigeria and ni ajube inflation to ngol le ba selo kar dankan ko matatal no fo 18% but bi mbetelo men datata 11%. So ni na regional jube tumando baron pol fana fishara banku jamaaji andu ngani no nyaadi le sanite jan sansite jan lumite jan so si menke no dron be masa kuba ta andi kanyamen fangola karola len ba jata kenda la karola karamola karola benga bulu kapu ko masa kunda manke adama baron ala cabinet ni government bamba amum be la sula kuwal mo be kun ko len de mo mo ren la balinda be jel so be nga katam be kata wara no la nga daban do do man sabaje alnimba. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister CD Keta, a comprehensive presentation. I think by now it's very clear the fact that you are shifting away from orthodox economics to finding innovative ways for very important. What I will do now is to give opportunity to your team on here able to introduce themselves and to briefly explain their mandate, and then we can now know exactly how to direct our questions. We'll start with the Honorable Statistician General. Thank you. Hello.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Cisse. I am as introduced by Honorable Cisse, I am the Statistician General Gambia Bureau of Statistics, and my name is Nyakasi MB Sanya. The Gambia Bureau of Statistics is the principal body under the Ministry of Finance responsible for producing official statistics, but also for coordinating for the production of official statistics. We have what we call a national statistical system that is working with the Gambia Bureau of Statistics and comprises of all ministries, departments, and agencies that produce statistics, either administratively or otherwise. The Gambia Bureau of Statistics has two main directorates that are responsible for producing statistics, and two other directorates, one responsible for coordinating quality and also disseminating the data that we produce. But another one, which is the ICT department, is mainly there to support our operations. As we all know, we are in the technology era. You can't do anything in the absence of technology. The two main directorates that are responsible for producing statistics are the Economic Statistics Department, and under this department you have units. You have the National Accounts Unit. This unit is responsible for producing GDP. We produce annual GDP and quarterly GDP. Also, you have prices unit. This is the unit responsible for producing the CPI and the PPI. The CPI is the consumer price index, and the PPI is the producer price index. We also have other units. That's the tourism, transport, and communication unit. This is now let me refer to as transportation and communication statistics unit, because the tourism statistics is now the responsibility of the GT board to produce. This unit produces transport and communication statistics. We also have the trade statistics. We compile trade statistics monthly, but we produce the reports quarterly. Under this, you also have this is mainly the responsibility of the Economic Statistics Directorate. We also have the social and demographic statistics. This is the statistics mainly responsible for conducting the demographic and health survey, the multiple indicator survey, the integrated household survey, the labor force survey, and all other surveys that you hear that have been conducted the Gambia Bureau of Statistics. It's also the director responsible for conducting the population and housing census. I forgot about the other key responsibility of the Economic Studies Directorate that is conducting the economic census and the business enterprise survey. But this is also the directorate that also produces the business statistics business register. This year,
yeah, I think just briefly summarize that in the local language of your choice. Just 1 minute.
Okay, Mbadingo, ndol fana nata jambi ka kafuna minister comme Gambia Bureau of Studies Department of Ministry of Finance le koro. Ntol la doko olem nyinti ntole ka jama ka kibarol ta albulu kibarol dun isiatale dol je ngeta institutional le bulu dol je nke dun atole kan nali kaja ngama labanta min kila sa wala ni population and housing census ngama mol be dunta na mol natal kan ne dunta mol be kan al nyin ka kuma jamana laftalo na mo jellebe banko kan mo sifa jellebe nyim banko kan anim fana munem nyim wala do koti ani ajama ngakuma jamal le nyininka ka nyininka jamal le ke jata kendia karola senola karola karangola karola o be pour kama sekunda ma ko be la fero lan la nyame ka do ko ke comme al solata la nyame bar os bar fanan ka long munde be kerim banko ko ala ba
Let me see this one. Hello? This one is for.
Thank you very much, Doctor. My name is Yankuba Dabo. I'm the Commissioner General, Gambia Revenue Authority. As most of you may know, the Gambia Revenue Authority is responsible for collection of revenue, mainly for the government. Gambia being a tax-based economy, the government have decided that some years back to bring the Customs and Excise Department together with the Domestic Tax Department, and they have other departments that are joined with them, so they call them GR. 2004, the GRA was established. Up to today, we are proud to say that we have 8 effective departments with us, starting from the HR and admin, which are definitely responsible for the human resources of the institutions. And then you have as well a technical services department, which mainly is responsible for research, the corporate strategy plan, etc. And then you have the legal department, legal and board services department. As you know, we do encounter difficulties with some of our taxpayers. So we've decided to create legal and board service department so that GRA being an institution that is established by an act of parliament, that people have the right to sue us if we do something wrong. But we also have the right to sue those who did something wrong during the course of our work. And that is why we now have a full department called Legal and Board Services. We also have the internal audit. As you know, we deal with money, and money is an evil thing that everybody wants money, but money that doesn't belong to you, you don't have to take that. So in order to bring the checks and balances, we created a department called Internal Audit. And they are responsible to follow and check whatever is going within the institution in terms of the processes and the procedures of the work that we do. And we also have finance and accounting departments that are responsible to receiving the money, so that whatever money assessments we do, they are responsible for that, and they are responsible for the banking, as well as they are responsible for reconciliation and then the final accounting of both the revenue and the subvention. Again, we have another department called Enterprise Risk Management, Reform and Modernization / IT. What this department does, they're responsible for the risk. Knowing what we know about money, you always have to make sure that you plan ahead and you look at where the risks are. So this department is mainly responsible for that. But under that department, we also have the IT, so that you know that we are on the move of digitalization, and then the IT is very, very helpful in that process. But finally, we have two main departments, operational department, one called the Customs and Excise, which is responsible for the international trade. And anything to deal with that, they are responsible, and they do the assessments for that. And then the money is collected by the finance and accounting department. We also have another one called the domestic taxes department. Domestic taxes department, they are responsible for collection of domestic revenue. They do the assessments, but the collection is still done by the finance and accounting department. So basically, these are the 8 departments that we have within GRA. But our main focus was building capacity for the staff. Prior to the amalgamation of the 2 departments, some of us who were there before, you can hardly count 10 graduates within these 2 institutions. 10, you cannot have 10 graduates. But today we are proud to say that due to the effort of management and how we prioritize capacity building, we have over 200 graduates working for GRA. And these are master's holders, bachelor's holders, ACCA, and LLB, qualified lawyers, and qualified computer scientists. And all these people, because when you have a system in place, you need to build the capacity of your staff to be able to use those systems and run it effectively. So we are very proud to say that we have prioritized the capacity buildings of our staffs. And as we speak now, we have over 50 people doing their masters as well as their bachelors. Yeah, thank you.
Your choice, what GRA does, for those who don't.
Okay, assalamu alaikum, bading mandinkolu. Kamem for being told nata janne, kamem for mansakunda, nata kachala janne na minister, member of finance la kuola. Ndol menu be ministry nyung onda, nata men wale momo ibe do kuola dameng, isina yafo Gambiano le taka mundo kusifaleke, and I told Allah structure benya dilem. And bokama fa ngabem funu walem ko GRA kabring masakunda ya jiko customs will be lori fayenne domestic tax will be lori fayenne bari wala do ko nyin ya jibele ko e nyanta men akela nyamen pour do ko e betea a dasatale ni nata nu nyola e kafuta nyola keta kilinti ye modol fana kafundi fanna wo o bela do ko sembo warandilal then inin masakunda ni World Bank nata kafu nyoma World Bank for GRA bondi and the GRA datita way back 2004 January 2004 kabra datita wato jannin GRA bina nin karo fata 100 million of fango buga soto no nin department fulol ni kafu nyoma 100 million of fango mo akake problem nati bari bring nin department fulol nata nyola ma sakunda nata jela ko ila doko sembo warta bake ko do men ka soto nu sango kono e ka men sango be to ka men collect ka bring GRA nata san kar killing GRA ka wala collect nimba fokan tubab kan wala wolem ning sango be ka billion fola le soto billion fola ka wala collect sango be nyin department flow sign GRA la nakan sign GRA kar killing e katale wati dole fo billion fola soto e tambala so wala yatinna masakunda waji ko is better pour que ñu nati ñokan ye modol fana kafundi la men ya lon ko they are professional in their own field wolem the accountability the auditors ani loyal ani mol men ya lon ko fana wol hambamo ya londo soto statistics ni wol benati nan ye kafuñi department fulo la men ya lon ko wala doko mu collection assessment wolti ibaje la ko ila doko efficiency be taraje nanyim fo fana ko janni jiare be datila ni jara o department fulo to hani mo tang ibuka soto no men yalon ko university degree soto bari bi mesirin dem ten sa foko nga mo ben soto men yalon ko graduate lem bachelors and masters atambita mo keme fulala men be yalon ko dol bije wol mo ACC holdalti dol bije wole masters le soto dol bije wole bachelors le soto dol bije more than 6 or 7 we yalon ko mo loyalty fo sayim fanka modol fuloyal nganda minister ngamna minister fa nganda modol samba ke samba dula dolto ke fula pour ifana capacity building dol kije abaraka Ismail.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs' main mandate is to achieve both macroeconomic stability and also promote economic development. And to achieve that, it has different directorates supporting the achievements of these objectives. Key among them is the Economic Research Department, and that is the department that is responsible for developing the macroeconomic framework of the country. And in doing so, they try to develop what they call the medium-term expenditure framework. Also, we have another directorate that is responsible for tax policy, and this directorate is actually spearheading both the policy and revenue reforms of the country. It also includes reforms, legislative reforms on tax-related matters, both tax and non-tax. We are focusing on both. And also, this tax directorate is working closely with the Gambia Revenue Authority. Most of the major milestones or achievements you are hearing is as a result of the collaborative effort between the Tax Directorate at the Ministry of Finance and the Gambia Revenue Authority. The Honorable Minister of Finance has made this statement that there is a great collaboration between us and the Gambia Revenue Authority. But not only the Revenue Authority, but also the Central Bank of the Gambia, because if we don't collaborate with the Central Bank of the Gambia, it makes it very, very difficult for Central Bank of the Gambia to achieve price stability, which is the core mandate of any central bank. So we collaborate with the Central Bank in different ways. We do this through having regular engagements between the governor and the Honorable Minister of Finance. And of course, there is a lot of technical collaboration between GRA, the Ministry of Finance, and the Central Bank of the Gambia. And we do this through different platforms, through regular consultative meetings, and we are also present in the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank. And that is where the Central Bank monetary policy rate is set. So the macroeconomic framework of this country is anchored around debt management. Because if you do a detailed or deep dive assessment of the macroeconomic stability of this country, you notice that the center of macroeconomic stability in this country is around debt. And that is the reason why we are pursuing a number of debt reforms in our country, which is led by the Directorate of Loans and Debt Management. They are focusing on different areas. They are on resource mobilization. They are also in doing the risk management, and also focusing on the back office, that is recording of debt. And also, because of the importance of debt, we are able to develop a number of instruments that will help support debt management. And key amongst these policy instruments is the on-lending frameworks and the guarantee frameworks. We are also pursuing the deepening of our domestic debt market. And to do that means we have to support our investor relations. We have to really pursue investor relations and to ensure that they are able to participate successfully. By that I mean those who are participating in government T-bills and government bonds. The office is very active in, and also central to the work of the Ministry of Finance is on the formulation of the debt and the formulation of budget. And we do this every year in consultation, of course, with all MDAs, ministries, departments, and agencies. We produce the budget, which becomes the instrument that is used to deliver our national development objectives. And this is done through by submitting the budget to the National Assembly, which is normally approved.
Thank you. I know citizens are eager now. They want to ask the questions. Finally, Governor, just 3 minutes. Unfortunately.
Okay.
Yes. No, we'll have many questions for him. So I think even the first question will be directed to him.
Okay.
Just briefly, your name and then your mandate. Just 3 minutes, please, so we can.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. My name is Bua Sede. I'm the Governor of the Central Bank of the Gambia. And Central Bank of the Gambia, we have 4 mandates according to the CBG Act, that is the Central Bank Act 2018. And the primary mandate, number 1, and primary mandate is price stability. In addition to price stability, is stability of the financial system, exchange rate stability, and also the 4th mandate is to participate in the economic development of the country, and that is access to finance, among other things. Now, in terms of the first mandate, price stability, the Honorable Minister mentioned, because of the shocks from COVID to Ukraine, now Gaza, Israeli war, those supply side shocks mainly, and during the COVID, the fiscal support to the economy in terms of expansionary fiscal policy, and also central bank expansionary monetary policy. Those two and the supply side, globally, that's what was done in all economies to make sure that we stabilize our economies against COVID and the Ukraine thing. That resulted to a inflationary build-up in inflationary pressures and global inflation increase, and as well as our domestic inflation. So in order to arrest those price build-up and increase in the inflationary pressures, central bank implemented prudent monetary policy through the Monetary Policy Committee, and we increased from 2022, when the impact of inflation of this support to the economy started building into prices. From 22 to now, the Monetary Policy Committee increased the monetary policy rate by 700 basis points. And this helped to ensure that it...
the questions awaiting you.
Okay.
Just briefly in the local language, what does the central bank do? What is the mandate of the central bank in the local language of your choice?
Minister Kaminyininka, wala munum central bank la duko. Central bank la duko, according to law na deputy bunga central bank sasi minna wala ka make sure marsandisol da nyim banko kan I think marsandisol ase tara level mi alonko molsa sanole marsandiso isia adafana ji pour mol la baluo se sona ya nyami anim fana dala so nim bantala banko ka trade nyami wo fana se stable because wala ka tinna marsandiso daka sele na banking system fana wala ko di mabu bungol be dami isaje mol la kodol fana c'est safe mol economy ni solata kodol la pour ka fanko tamandi wo kodol fana c'est sotono nyim bank sol leto ani fana fort mandate wala central bank blue etara banko la economy la development ko so mboka li ñoo wax moy central bank suñ mandate bi fola according to national assembly legi député lu ñu sas moy pour ñu make sure ne njegi bagage yi yomba nañ nit ñi mun a afford nit ñi mun a dem si marché bi pour ñu mun a seen koppan ndawal yi liñ soxla pour dundal seen njaboot yi ñu mun ko mu yomba nga xam ne ku nekk soo demee marché li nga bugg a jënd pour dundal sa njaboot mu gën a yomba ak tamit jënd ak jaay bi dañ dee use dalasi bi ak CFA bi dollar bi euro pour loolu tamit exchange rate bi mun a stable yomba tamit ak tamit fi ñoo denc suñu xaalis yi mooy suñu banques yi tamit ñu meeg soo ne xaalis banque fa xaalis bi ngeen a denc si banques yi that they are safe and secure ak tamit xaalis moo de doxal koom-koomi réew mi so banques yi su fekkee ne banques yaa ngi dox ni mu waree koom-koomi réew mi tamit dina mun a dox and then the fourth mandate mooy central bank tamit dugal loxoom bi si développement koom-koomi réew mi ak yokkute nit ñi seen am bi ak seen alal yi ak dunda yi mun a yomb.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Governor. I think I will use my privilege as the host of this program to ask the first two questions. Then after which we'll go back to the public, give them a chance to ask three questions, which you'll answer. The first question goes to you, Governor.
Yes.
We've recently seen the dollar depreciating against other major currencies like the CFA, the dollar, the euro, and the Great British. Yes. Why is that happening, and what is the central bank doing to make sure the dollar is stable? Okay. But this has also consequences for the price of commodities in the country.
Yes.
The second question is for the Honorable Minister of Finance. We understand that supply chain bottlenecks due to the war in Ukraine, due to the COVID-19, but also rising energy prices due to the war in Ukraine has caused inflation, which is called the cost of living crisis in most parts of the world. But what is the Gambia government doing through your ministry to ensure that the cost of living crisis is mitigated and that its impact is not felt by Gambians, particularly those who are low-income earners? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Your question is very important. Now, the stability of the local currency largely depends on two major factors. One is the supply of availability of foreign currency in the country, the reserves that the central bank is holding. Are we having adequate reserves to support the exchange rate of the country and also meet the demand of the country in terms of financing of international trade and also services. Now, supply of foreign currency is mainly from exports. You earn it. But in the Gambia, we basically exporting very little. It's groundnut and few other exports, few commodities. Our import is way more than our exports. The other source of foreign currency for the Gambia is donor support, together with tourism and diaspora remittances. Now, the supply, the demand is more than the supply. That is on the domestic side here. But what affects the exchange rate also is what is happening in the international economy. For instance, recently, like I mentioned, the central bank, the Federal Reserve Bank in the US, they were battling inflation to make sure that they are able to bring their inflation to below their medium-term target, which is 2%. In trying to do that, they increase interest rate. That's the lowest hanging fruit in terms of monetary policy instrument for aggregate demand management. That increase in interest rate in the US caused investors to now move to invest in the US. And the currency of investment in the US is the dollar. So the demand for the dollar increased, the dollar appreciated, and vis-a-vis other currencies, the other currencies depreciated. Even the mighty pound sterling, the euro, the Japanese yen, and all those currencies. So these are the factors that affect the exchange rate of the dollar. And what is the central bank doing about it? We try to make sure that we increase our reserve buildup. Currently, we have over 4 months of import cover for goods, prospective goods and services. In addition to that, we introduced a robust exchange rate policy. By that, we moved from a reference rate to a single exchange rate, that is the policy rate. And then we also did a revision of the foreign exchange guideline. So that together now has increased the flow of foreign currency in the foreign exchange market. The confidence increased in terms of the exchange rate of the dollar and the stability of the currency. Now also the gap between the parallel market, that is the black market, and the official foreign exchange market. The official foreign exchange market, by definition, is money transfer organizations, both international and local foreign exchange bureaus and commercial banks. So that foreign exchange market, that is regulated by the central bank. And the unregulated one, that is the black market, that arbitrage opportunity between the two markets have narrowed significantly. The last time I checked, what the statistics showed is less than $1, about 98 bushels.
Why do we still allow the parallel market to operate, even though we know this is not good?
The parallel market is illegal by law. It should not exist. We've made announcement to them that if they want to continue.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much. I think my question is, what is government doing to ameliorate the cost of living? And I don't know where to start because that's our daily job. Every day, our task is to how to make life in this country affordable and easy for the citizens who are actively participating in the economy. We're looking at it from a multi-pronged approach. Energy prices. We all know global energy prices have been on an upward trend. And Gambia has been one country that has continued to be a cushion between the market forces of high energy price and the citizenry. As we could recall, the tariff for NAWEC was increased by 36% last year. And the cost of producing electricity has not stopped. It has still continued. As a result, the cost of generating the electricity we consume has become beyond the tariff we are paying currently. And it is good for us to inform the citizenry at large. As recently as last month, the government allocated $10 million, that is more than 650 million, as tariff compensation to NAWEC, so that the current tariff will remain where they are, and the citizens will not pay any more energy price increases in terms of electricity. If we had not done so, NAWEC would have been obliged to increase their tariff to a level that would become unbearable. So we allocated, in spite of the challenging economic crisis, to give NAWEC $10 million as tariff compensation. In terms of day-to-day cost of living, rice, there is no duty on rice. When you import rice, it's your CIF Banjul only and your transaction cost to clear your goods. There is no duty. That's why you will see a bag of rice in the Gambia is cheapest in the region. And I'm sure, yes, certainly. And if you look at value-added tax, all essential commodities like cooking oil, sugar, there is no VAT levied on that. These are tax revenues the state is foregoing just to make sure that cost of living is affordable. Then we come to the productive sector, agriculture. Every year, government allocates nothing less than $1.5 billion of our limited budget resources to support the sector. In the fertilizer this year, I have just mentioned, we allocated $1 billion to make fertilizer at the price that it is today, 1,100. If you look at the crop financing, last year's crop finance price was the highest ever in the history of this country. And this was through a subsidy of nothing less than $700 million. And we are not stopping there. Government has now started to identify the vulnerable communities and individuals in society. And from our budget, we've allocated $30 million to give as direct cash transfer to these people to enhance their cost of living, to support their cost of living. Petrol prices. Every month, petrol prices go up. There is not a month where government has not subsidized petrol. In fact, from January to date, we have subsidized petrol prices to the tune of more than $300 million. This, in fact, this is where we need to let the Gambians know that we just don't take advice from IMF and others. The directive, the margin order we had from them was full pass-through. We said we know our society is very heterogeneous and we don't have social safety net. As such, we must cushion the cost of rising petrol prices at the pump, because if petrol prices goes up, fuel prices go up, everybody fares go up, electricity, that's it. So there is not a month where government will not subsidize. So every Gambian should know that if you buy petrol at the pump for $80, know that government is paying on your behalf $3 extra for you to be able to get that petrol at 80. That's one area we're doing. And when it comes to the people like the Badwunkas, for the flour, bread has not crossed $10 for the longest, simply of government initiative and policy. Government has given special investment certificate to the flour manufacturers. They don't pay any taxes so that their costs will be affordable and they can sell flour at affordable prices so that the Badwunkas can afford price at $10. So that's not it. I'm not done. This we're doing a lot. This is our day-to-day work, and this cost of living is not unique to Gambia. If you come to education, Gambia government is providing free education from kindergarten to grade 12. Imagine that was not there. That would have displaced your income. So in coming for bading moli, wolem yintiko, ay nyininka menna, wolem ko. Masakuna kamuneke purka mola balwusone nga damen fo wolem sarta worowula luwolum wati masakuna be wole kan. Biring cash power la dato, duty mamtara mano kan, VAT mantara tuloni fengodolu kan, melkana janjabolu. Ani General Fadwana la jambando na le tiada sawo sang masakunda ka kodo menta pass woka katami $1.7 billion isla. Nimfana nata kajube ko essential ni gas oil kari wo kari masakunda ka dalasi saba dalasi lanela lita wo lita men ka sam petrol price so mel fana kam burol ferñol de dañim banko kan masakunda ka yewol makwele pour namo kana lela business o kan isaje si se barbungol fana si buro soto no dalstan so jinel be caring bari koladu wobe duna beleto bari masakunda la lonka mo menete wole ko ka jeko wati balu wo so na nyim banko ka nin tanko abana.
We now move on to the yes. Questions, and then we'll give them the chance to answer those questions. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. maa ngi nuyu ñu fi nekk ñëpp di rafetlu programme bi bu baax a baax suma laaj bi nag si olof laa ko bëgg a laaj dina similar to Dr. Ismaila Cissé lim laaj maa ngi tudd Modou Lamine Diouf maa ngi liggéey Hilltop FM and QTV si mbiri CFA bi boobu laa bëggoon a laaj governor because gis nañ ne CFA bi mu ngi dóor dalasi bi all the time. Around 2016-2017, semil bi mu ngi nekkoon around $225 to $250 te dem na over $500 te lii dafa am jeexantal si ñi nga xamante ne ñoo dëkkee si réew mi because of seen jëflante ak réewi Sénégal bëgg naa xam pexe yi lan la ci matuwaay yi nga xamante ne fas ngeen ko yéene jël pour saafara mbir moomu noonu. Honorable Minister mu ngi doon wax ne tam suñu xoolee SOE comme yi fi nekk ak mu ngi wax sa subsidies yi ñoo dugal joxe nañ 1 billion si fertilizer bi joxe nañ mu doon mbir yoo xamante ne yu am solo la yu nguur di def bëggoon naa xam tam ginnaaw bu ko nguur defee lan la loolu juraat in return because the point is not just pour ñuy joxe waaye li nga xamante ne moom la ñoo joxe moo am loo xamante ne tam dina ko jur soo bëggoon naa pour Honorable Minister leeral loolu jërëjëf bu baax a baax.
Thank you very much. Any other question? Okay, in the meantime, perhaps, Governor, you can answer the first question.
Thank you very much. So question B, I'm not sure. Why question B? Then the latte bo hamne latte nan ko yon yu bari suñu amé monetary policy committee then they am press conference reporters yi dañ dee laajte li joxe nañ reason waaye dinaa ko joxeeti comme li ma wax dalasi bi ak foreign currency bi mooy xaalis yi yeneen réew yi li ko determine mooy demand and supply ñaata nit ñoo dee soxla CFA bi ak CFA biñ amee si réew mi nang ñaata la pour mun a ñi ko soxla ñu mun a jaay CFA bi si ñoom pour lu ñoo jëndee Sénégal ak dëkk yi nga xam ne ñu ngi use CFA si sub-région bi léegi li tax CFA bi di egg compared to dalasi bi mooy suñu trade mooy jënd ak jaay bi léegi Sénégal is our #1 trading partner daanaka li ñoo soxla si Sénégal di jënda di indi Gambia léegi moo gën a bëri daan yeneen réew yi li tax mooy suñ dëkkandoor la suñ port bi improve na léegi bu baax a baax te gaa yi ngay tray waaye ba tey suñ import si li nga xam ne ñu ngi ko soxla jógee bitim réew yenn dañ ko dee wàccee Dakar te suñ buggee génne yooyu si port yi Dakar bi indi ko Banjul dalasi bi du currency du xaalis si Sénégal foog nga am CFA bi fii dem jël sa bagage yi Sénégal loolu li nga soxla si CFA dafa gën a yokku loolu dafa ekkati price yi CFA bi parce que li ñoo jaay Sénégal ñun Gambia wala Sénégal li ñoo soxla fii pour CFA bi dugga si moo gën a niiw daan liñ soxla foofu loolu benn la si import bagage yi ñoo génne from yeneen réew yi di ko wàcce port Sénégal te tamit lu bari luñ soxla si wàllin dunda ministre wax na ko fii dañ ko dee import maanaam dañ ko dee indi from bitim réew lu bari tamit Sénégal ñun suñ situation bi doy na waa torop lu ñoo lekk yëpp dañ ko dee indi Sénégal suñ buggee samp ciment roads basal Sénégal la dee jógee même soble yi ni Sénégal dafa ñëw sorans yi nga gis fruit si mbedda bi ñu ngi koo jaay watermelon yi yëpp Sénégal la dee jóge même kaani sax Sénégal laa jóge lu mooy amin dugub yi luñ soxla time mi Tabaski xar yi luñ soxla Sénégal laa jóge te ba pare fii ak Sénégal suñ diina yi tarika yi yëpp benn la su màggal jotee dañoo dem Sénégal yooyu yëpp you are asking for yaa ngay laajte CFA te yow li Sénégal soxla fii pour CFA bi mun a dugga si fii nga gis ne soo buggee CFA bi nga joxe sa dalasi bi am CFA bariwul so liñ war a def ñun Gambia mooy li Sénégal amee foofu in fact in terms of agriculture noo leen tere soo seetee Sénégal bi seen suuf bi ay challenge waaye fii suuf bi ñuul bi la te water table bi ndox mi tamit mu ngi fi soo liñ war a def mooy suñu agriculture ñu develop ko nga xam ne yi ñooy indi from Sénégal ay watermelon ay fruit seeg yooyu yëpp mën nañ koo grow fii di ko lekka ak yes so loolooy reason bi.
All right, time is not on our side. Honorable Minister.
li ma understand si question bi mooy ne dañoo subsidize ban njëriñ la am si askan bi loolu la understand si question bi waaye liñ mën a woon rek mooy ne suñ subsidy bi demut kasaarawuñ ko because ñu ngi gis ne agriculture li béykat yi di ji mu ngi gën a yokku at bu nekk last year liñ am si gerte musuñ koo am si at yu passé loolu tax di nga gis ne our economic growth suñ koom-koom dem kanam yokkuteem bi agriculture contribute na si lu bari so subsidy bi gis nañ fu moo dem loolu tax because sooy dépassé xaalisi nguur foog nga seet li nga def ndax dafa am njëriñ ndax amul njëriñ at bu nekk balaa ñoo def subsidy dañoo seet ndax mu ngi wàññi ndunda bi ndax mu ngi njëriñ askan bi sakatuma béykat yi te soo gisee price yi gerte liñ amoon last year daaw musuta am si dëkk bi loolu dafa tax ne béykat yi ñu ngi gën a am xaalis soo boobaa ñu mun a jënda luñ soxla mun a def enterprises wala business wala faj seen soxla yi so liñ seen mooy ne dalasi bu ñoo def si subsidy foog ñu seet su ñoo dépassé dalasi bi ndax dafa am lu moo jur si askan bi so si suñ gis-gis si suñ xayma gis nañ ne daal luñ dépassé subsidy def dee am njëriñ loolu tax ñu ngi koo def at bu nekk jërëjëf.
No questions coming from the floor. I have questions coming in from those watching from home. I cannot read all the questions, but I'll start with the first one, which says, my question, when is the Ministry of Finance going to implement the new integrated pay scale approved by Cabinet in 2023? This question is from one Ms. Jallo. The second question from D.A. Jao. Please ask the governor, when does he expect us to do away with soiled currency notes, as well as get a single generation currency as opposed to different types and size of notes?
I'll go for the first. Because we have to share the load.
Yeah. You know, there was intention to come up with a new integrated pay structure. This was in 2022. but the reason why it was implemented was that we noticed that the government wage bill will go up by about 50%. And the government wage bill at that level was deemed to be unsustainable if we have to use the new integrated pay structure. So we had extensive discussions within the ministry and within government and our partner, the IMF, and we came to revise the salary increase from what would have been 50% to about, if I don't forget, about 30% salary increase. And because we have revised the salary increase by 30%, meant that we couldn't introduce the new pay structure, because the new pay structure would have led to a 50% salary increase. When do we introduce it? I leave that with our policymakers. So what we are doing is that we are monitoring our debt and revenue performance. Okay. Because remember that if you increase salary, it becomes a permanent expenditure. So you have to identify a permanent revenue source that is going to finance this expenditure. And you know here, most of the body bunkers don't like tax increases. So we'll see how we can, yes. So that's what we are doing now. You could even see when we introduced the new excise tax stamps. We did not increase the excise tax stamp. We just say what we want is all bottled water should be stamped. And the excise stamp, the rate remains unchanged. But even with that reform, prices went up by significantly, especially for bottled water. So we are a bit mindful on the types of reforms we introduce, because some of them lead to unnecessary price hikes. Remember also, there was a period when we replaced the sales tax with VAT. The sales tax was 15%, and we maintained the 15% for the VAT, but prices doubled. So we are a bit mindful of how we want to finance salary increases, because how we finance it is also very sensitive to the public. No, I'll do it in Mandinka, don't worry. Mbadinkol ala baraka bake, so no. so minketa wolom no, I'll do it in Mandinka, no. So minketa in 2022 Governor.
The central bank notes, the question from D.A. Jao.
Can you please repeat the question, please?
Now?
Can you repeat the question, please?
The question is, let me see if I can have it here. Please ask the governor, when does he expect us to do away with soiled currency notes, as well as get a single generation currency as opposed to different types and size of the notes?
Actually, that policy is in place. We had issued a press release to say by the end of last year, all old generation of notes should be sent to the central bank or to the commercial bank, and you get the new generation of notes. The old generation of notes, starting with the 50, the $100 and the $200, they have different types, 2 or 3 types. So that withdrawal is still going on. We just don't want to create chaos by saying, let's say by period X, if you have old generation of note, is worthless. We saw what it did in the chaos it created in Nigeria. So that's why we are still working with the public, but a significant amount of the old generation of notes has been withdrawn and is in the commercial banks and the central bank, and we are destroying them. We have incinerators that we use to destroy the old soil and mutilated notes, we call them. That process is going on, and we are hoping that will make significant progress so that the new generation of notes will be the only ones that will be issued.
Okay.
The commercial banks, we always tell the public, if you go to the banks, because sometimes the commercial banks are lazy to do sorting, and we have penalty for it. When you go to the banks and they pay you these soil and mutilated notes, give it back to them and demand for the new generation of notes. Or if they give it to you, bring it to the central bank. The wrapper on the currency will tell us which bank it is, and sometimes even the cashier we will know. And then we penalize. The director of banking is sitting there. He doesn't joke. I mean, minimum penalty is $50,000 on a bank.
So if a bank issues the old generation
or
notes,
a generation of
they can be fined $50,000.
Yes, bring it to the central bank and we'll penalize them.
Thank you.
Or you tell them, I don't want this old generation of notes, especially $50. Give it back to them and demand that they give you the new
one. Thank you.
If they refuse, come to the central bank.
All right, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Yapendaba. I have a question for the Minister of Finance. In general, I just want to ask, what do you do for those that cannot be able to afford a lot, like benefits? What does the bank do to those that are less privileged to be able to afford a lot? Example, like if prices are high and they don't have enough to be able to buy for their living, stuff like that, for school fees. In general, what does the ministry do to those that are less privileged? Thank you.
The support, okay. If there are no other questions from the floor, I have a question from the Director of Press at the Office of the President. She's asking whether, let me see here, okay. How can the introduction of price control contribute to managing the rising commodity prices? I'm not a fan of price control, but you can answer that question. Then after that, we have 10 more minutes. I have 2 more questions. I think there are no more questions coming from the floor. You have 1 question for 2. Okay, that's fine. Then let's take those questions, and then we can give the chance for our guests to answer the questions.
My name is Babu Karban. I have a question for the governor of Central Bank. They introduced some time ago the money stock market, the money stock market. What happened to the money stock market? Why is Central Bank not continuing with the money stock market?
Why is it?
Well, yes.
Thank you so much, Doctor. I will ask my question in Mandinka. My name is Aliou Job, economics student and political science at the University of the Gambia. So my question will be directed to the Honorable Minister. The Governor Central Bank ya admit la ko ni da jibe daraso la barakanta ya asunta minna wala mu sefa la be ku daraso ka nyitembo nyina mi yo sabu wala mu nka fengol min sang Senegal banko nyingan ani business o ba Gambia ni Senegal tema nyami na kalamu do ko ni dafa pour ko gap sorong in normal circumstances kamin ke wala mu ko wol min ka produce Senegal iko wala ta ya produce Gambia banko ka kamin commande substitute import substitute strategies ila ministry ba mu simfa dalta kam pour ka agricultural ministry nyinke semento yandi aning local industry mi ana ko la banko kanjang prisaje ko ardoni ku ko tan dol mi ana ko la kasan Senegal isa produce no banko kanjang and banko di français mo na fanno wala and as a price of an data lano abarka bag
you one is from the DPPR, one about the stock exchange for the central bank, and then one about the import substitution strategies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think I recall the question was about what do we do as government to protect the vulnerable segment of the society. I think that that's very dear to us because we are a government that believes in leaving no one behind. Every Gambian should have a stake at the table and at the enterprise. And we are very sensitive to the less vulnerable, to the less opportune. And we just don't do this alone as a government. Prior to this year, we had partnered with World Bank, where cash transfers were made to vulnerable segments of society. This was done in the parts of the country where the social register were completed. Currently, the social register is pending KM and Banjul. And that's why we cannot roll out a means-tested support system. So we do a blanket subsidy in the form of prices for energy, prices for the fuel prices, supporting free education. And this year, we have also started direct transfer from the national budget to the vulnerable segment of society. And this program is being managed by the Social Safety Project under the Ministry of Office of the Vice President. So why we are doing this blanket subsidy? Because we do not have a completed database of the social register. Once the social register is complete, we will likely withdraw from the blanket subsidy and do targeted means support to the vulnerable segment of society. That is one. And of course, we are doing support in the agricultural sector to support the farmers who are equally vulnerable, and agriculture subsidy account for nothing less than 1.75 billion annually. So that is the question on that. And si men for wale mindiko, ay nyininga men na masakunda ka men muneke molye mel blome kobe. Ko nyi masakunda dung amanke masakunda te pour fanka mal ni. Meli alon fon fanko i blome kobe masakunda ka lo wale. Nunto nim World Bank nyol kam bulo kafunyo kane meli ale blome kobe karfula o karfula nka $3,000 transfer. Bari nyinang dalasis. Nyinam masakunda fon la ranke so nga kodo boni waldo mentata kanyan $30 million pour meli ale blome be kobe nka kodo dila karfula o karfula. Anu na jiko momenti social register wale mampare. Bari ni opereta mbaju bela le mel blome kobe na wato sita ninsi mbe programo de dala len siwol mako no nyamen dana ka kemo be skatu ni petrol data la permanent secretary imanya na kero bugo sas asanol bar ni register soto kayte ne permanent secretary wala soto mu nyinati bari fulana kare wobe dame o man fen soto ni siwo mako en wala wala paso data la dan na di mobile. And the one import substitution, I think import substitution is from a various. Okay, ay nyininga mena wala myinti ko dala sola fanko talata nyame ani sefa. Bar mbe men fola wala myinti ko sefa manke Senegal fa wala economy la fanko. Wo mobe jana wolonna. Sefa mu kodilete me alonko European Union. Ani wala be kuntakiri. Bank of France bring itata euro. Bank of France natale ko sefa o sefa banko nibe kering. Ndolbe lola le ngela kodo sementuya. So sefa la sembo manke ko Senegal la franco ka. European Union EU ila kodo ikame euro wala ni sefa be kuntakire. Sa euro be damen dunia be kona be selekan. So sefa la selo manke Gambia ni Senegal da mala julea da mati. Ni euro seleta drong sefa ka sele. So masakunda be ferol mel lande kam puru ka o exchange rate stabilize wala myinti ko nyanna nka membondi na mbanta ngawtala wala antina sawo sang nka menda pasi pour senol la carola menka bon tol fon la ranke soto wotata kanya 1,750 billion anin fana nim partner sol gam bulodu nyoko le meltara ke ko World Bank, African Development Bank, IDB melia ADB melia longo be agri senelale be sembentu yakan. Signed drone this year, World Bank here supplemental approval for giraffe of $68 million. Pour melia lonko senela dolbeje si turol dila, senela dolbeje isi jambandol dila melia lonko kema kwe. So me ofero leke kam pour kana domestic production o kafo. Bar ko kuru ne abebuka keno wati kile onay. Bar inshallah me jikirin ko new ofero be timata tumando badon kamende da jabe sona yalla. Abaraka. Thanks.
The stock capital
wanted
market.
to say, yes. Thank you very much for that question. If you could recall, the central bank launched the capital market in September 2023, right here at the ICC, this International Conference Center. Since then, the capital market is there, up and functioning and running. Now, in April this year, to help before the OIC complete some of these roads, the secondary roads, the government needed some funds. The NRA, National Road Authority, needed those resources to ensure that they are able to pay the IPCs, that is the certificate, the contractors who completed those works to pay them. And the total amount was $850 million. Now, the budget is not in position to do that at the time. The Honorable Minister mentioned in his opening remark the need for domestic resource mobilization. We need to be creative. That's why the capital market is there, so that it facilitates and enhances that domestic resource mobilization. The NRA issued a corporate bond, and they registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission at the Central Bank, and that corporate bond was floated on the capital market. And the 12 commercial banks managing directors were offered to say, do you want to participate and buy this bond? The government, the NRA needed $850 million. It was fully subscribed, in fact, oversubscribed. We were looking for 850. We got $1.07 billion. And I think that's the way to go. The reason why that is attractive relative to traditional foreign currency loans. With foreign currency loans, when the dollar depreciates, the quantum in dollars that the government needs to pay for that loan increases. And again, at the time of payment, the exchange rate of the dollar may also depreciate. You need more dollars to pay for that. But with a domestic currency loan, it's the same dollars. At the time of payment, it's the same dollars you use. So that's the way to go. In fact, government is working on other initiatives in terms of infrastructure financing, the roads, the airport, and other things, so that we use domestic resources, Gambian people's savings, to build assets for Gambians and the next generation through the capital market to issue these bonds. And also, Honorable Minister, just to support what my minister said, that is import substitution. Be minekalanka fengol min bondi na bantala banko kan pulu na baluo mfausa adoku no jan. African Development Bank la president o bilana taja adisina ayna president o His Excellency President Barrow aya offer ko mbali mako la mano Gambia by 2027 mano nta sanna na bantala Gambia ka mano min domo sango kono Tony Kemefula Tawarola Anilu. Willi Tony Willi Kemefula Tawarola Anilu. Ngawle domo sango kono. Nga jelle doku Tony Mwanning kono. So difference o jibe. Andu farol bijanne, tandakol bijanne, jie bijang, masakunda ka angare sambanen wolom fertilizati. Wo mano se doku no jan. So African Development Bank la o makoro, and in Minister of Finance, Honorable Minister, kodo min abe min lala woka, prumano by 2027, Nintoni Willi Kemefula Tawara Wulani Lulo, za bedo kujang, do fa export.
Okay, thank you very much, Governor. I think we are now running out of time. They are alerting me that we have only how many minutes more to go? 3 minutes. I wouldn't let this general statistician to go home without answering any question. Kono albenung kontirola. Purkalong hadamarin jelebe sabatiring Gambia. Alo kontiro do isemol update no akatanya dile mo jelebe fal parita ban fal mam penal parita bi mette momindo tenti mo jelebe sabatiring Gambia.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Mom pare kun ninkeda amin biye wolem mol biye mianon kanika bi ke soto akoliata bare fanam min be do ko mina machine le be mbulu be menu use kanyin do ko do machine ko do fanam amang perfect so da machine dol mini sotal ndim soto menge machine ol nyinu lonne ngana mo kumal le pour yesa mananja pour se data nyimbe kono kibaro mbe kono se itaje bare ngamin soto na saba nyinto wala about 2.6 million mol wala be nyim banko kam bare comme nga fu nyame mam pare kurinke donc nyimbe continuer kan demander nim pare tamba fula mo jele be nyim banko.
Yo, ala baraka bake. Thank you very much. I think now that is it for this episode of the Mansakunda. You want to round up? Okay, 1 minute only.
Même for a molia wala mindiko until as a ministry we are a listening ministry. Nale fofore ni moy na flora tamandi yato. Janni molka si kay mire fanye. Ye ministry safe ye nyininka nkatama sarti jumal la membe kering. Janni ka si cool for fanye ye mire fanye. Because ndolmans na lo kundo dunu womente mo la balobe sona la nyame. Na fulo ka tamande nyame akadu mindole akabo mindole ka kasabi ka londe silo ka mele alon ko sartoli ala nyame. So hadama dingo dundo kula ka mistake le bari man ngam men fo wala ni momo de hakil soto isin safe no le wala na ministry to nga kolbe ka funyo ka mbal ni mbara mba fala la baraka. Thank you.
Thank you very much to every one of you, the audience. Thank you for coming. Thank you very much, Statistician General, Mr. Nyakasi, the Minister of Finance, Honorable Sidi Keta, Commissioner General, my brother, Mr. Dabo, DPS Jalo, and also Governor of the Central Bank, Bua Sidi. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. The Ministry of Information will continue to ensure there's proactive disclosure of information, to also ensure we provide timely, accurate, authentic, relevant information to the Gambian people by organizing these programs. Until we come your way again, in 2 weeks' time, we'll announce which minister is coming and his team to also interface with Gambians, to explain to Gambians what they are doing, and for Gambians to get a chance to ask questions. Ala baraka bake mbadingol bi mbadandila janne fu wati ko teng jerejef malana kerem yen ñep pour sen teway ak ñi nga xamne ñoo nekk di kër di sétane be benen yoon jerejef. Thank you.